All right, so a lot of people have questions about the new flat rates replacement, HVAC replacement program. We call it SOS, selling on the spot. What's the big deal? All right, so you want to set up a cookbook, a replacement book, so that your salespeople or your technicians or even you, the business owner, can have an easy way to sell, right? When I bought my heating and air business, my salesman quit. I did not know how to sell heating and air. Do you realize I went for months without selling anything because I didn't know how to sell it? I thought it was rocket science, but it's not. So the first time that I tried to do a replacement book, or what we in the industry call a cookbook, I had to get my serial numbers, my model numbers off my furnaces, air conditioners, coils, get all that information in, get my labor rates in, get in my estimated time, whether I'm measuring by mandates, days, or how I wanted to do it. Put in my, it was a big deal, wasn't it? Some of you have done it. Even if you buy a system from somebody, it's a big deal to get it set up and working. Well, then here's what happened. My washer and dryer went out. My wife's washer and dryer, right? Actually, in my house, we have 2 washers, 2 dryers. And the reason is because I have 9 kids, right? Well, most of them are grown. Our washer and dryer set was about 12 years old. And my wife was letting me know that one of the dryers didn't work, and one of the washers didn't work good. It wouldn't spin. She had to take the clothes, put them into the other washer to spin. Those of you with 2 washers and dryers would know just what I'm talking about. But also those of you whose wife calls you for a service call, sometimes she has to make several calls. Okay, so before I'm thinking about going and taking her appliances apart, I'm thinking, it's probably just time to replace them. And since most of our kids are grown, why don't we just go down to 1 washer and 1 dryer? Why do they have to be big, large capacity? And so I've been looking at these washer dryers at my favorite places, Lowe's, Home Depot, Sears, and they're $1,000 a piece, right? Everybody's buying these $1,000 washer dryers. Why? It just seems crazy. My wife didn't want them because she's very frugal. She doesn't like to spend money. That's a good wife, right? Anyway, so Craig here in the office tells me, hey, I can get you a set like that for under $1,000. I said, really? Where? He said, yeah, I've already bought sets for some friends of mine. And he said, my wife and I have them. My friends have them. He says, I'll go on Craigslist right now and find you some. Well, guess what? He did. $995 or something like that. I actually paid $1,000 and then $70 for them to deliver. Well, they're refurbished. They probably came out of that floodwater someplace in New York. I mean, I don't really know. But hey, they looked good. They were on pedestals. Over $2,000 worth of stuff for $1,000. But I made the decision just like that. Why? Because I'd been thinking about it. The price made sense, and I had choices. I could go to Sears, Lowe's, and Home Depot and pay $2,000 to $2,500, or I could pay $1,000 and not have to go take my wife's appliances apart. Take them apart. Take the sink out of the basement so I can slide the washer dryer out. Nice to not have to do all that. Okay. Remember how hard I said it was? Used to be to set up a cookbook or a replacement book, a selling system. Guess what? We can set this up for you in probably in about an hour. Okay? You don't need any model numbers, any serial numbers, because selling is not that hard. Now let me just tell you one quick story. I was in Walmart in Orlando, Florida. I was there for the ACA convention, a month, 2 months ago or something like that. And my phone rings, my cell phone rings, and it's one of our customers who had just bought the new flat rate replacement system. He says, Rodney, I just thought you'd like to hear this story. I said, okay. He says, remember when I called you to purchase the replacement system, I had just bought another cookbook system. I said, yeah, that's right. I was wondering why you were buying ours when you had just bought one. He said, well, it had been over 3 months, and I just finally got it all set up because I had to put so much information in it. And so he said, I was in front of a customer, and I was using that system, and he said the customer was getting more and more confused. Finally, the customer said, this is just too confusing. I'm going to go get some quotes. There's got to be an easier way. How about that? The customer said there has to be an easier way. So my client said, he said, I'd already spent a lot of time with this customer, and now I knew it was over. I knew the sale was lost. I knew if he went out for 3 beds or more, I knew it was over. He said, so I said, you know what? Could I just show you something else? Maybe let me just show you another way to look at it that might be less confusing. Customer says, well, okay. So he opens up his SOS replacement book that he had that he had was carrying around in his truck. He opens it to the page, and he says, you know what, maybe it's more simple this way. At the top, that's just our more premium system. That's our ultra energy preferred system, and it's got this, and this, and this. He says, and it's X number of dollars. He says at the bottom, he said, well, that's a basic system. What should we do? He showed it to the customer, who, by the way, had made it perfectly clear that he wouldn't spend a dime over $5,000. The customer looked at it and said, I'll take that one right there. $6,100. My client said to him, are you sure there's a cheaper option there? He said, nope, that's the one I want. My client said, I'll write it up and put it in. Just like that. My message, selling is not that hard. These people buy a washer dryer, they buy a fridge, hey, they even buy a car every 7 years or so, or more. Guess what? They'll buy a heating and cooling system just like that. Give it a try, the new flat rate, SOS, selling on the spot.